going on? Well, in this particular video, I wanted to address a comment that I'd gotten. Actually, it was an email that I'd gotten, and the person asked me if I had ever worked with any bridezillas, and what do you do when you find yourself in that situation? Well, first of all, let me say that I really don't like that term, bridezilla, because anytime we talk derogatory about our clients, I just don't like to say that. So, to be honest with you, though, I never really have had a bride that was really that difficult to work with. I mean, you may see that TV show Bridezillas, and I've read all the stories on Facebook, on the DJ Idea Sharing Facebook page. I've heard what a lot of guys have said about nightmarish brides they've had to work with. And I can say in 16 years, I really haven't had a bride like that I've ever had to work with. So I really haven't had one that a lot of people would, quote, call a bridezilla that I've ever worked with. But I have had brides that have been a little bit more structured than others. And that's okay. I'm not really, complaining about that or anything like that. But yeah, I have had brides that have been a little bit more structured than others, and some that aren't as laid back as other brides are. And I'll talk about how to handle that here in just a second. But let me just say this, okay? There have been some times when I have met with a bride and groom at Starbucks, and I could tell right off the bat that I'm not the DJ for them, for whatever reason. And that's normal, okay? This is one thing you have to understand, especially if you're just starting out in the mobile DJ business, is that every client is not your client. And that's okay. It's okay to turn down an event if you don't feel like you're the right DJ for them. You're actually doing them a favor and you a favor at the same time if that's the way you feel. And I really like to compare our situation with being a mobile DJ to dating. Okay, now let's say, you're dating and you're on like Match.com or eHarmony or something like that. You look at the men and women on there, and depending on your gender and your preferences, you're not gonna be click with every single person that you see on there. It just doesn't happen. And the same thing way in our business. I mean, you may be a bride on Wedding Wire or The Knot or something like that, or somebody may call you up and you may go to Starbucks and you may just realize that, hey, you know what, I'm really not their client. Just like it would be if it was a dating relationship. You may meet somebody for the first time and think, okay, well, I know right off the bat that I'm not going to click with this person. So that's happened, before with all of us. And, it's the same thing in our business. And, it's something you just got to think about. And let me tell you a little story, okay? Now, there have been some brides that I could tell that I declined their wedding because I kind of had a feeling that they'd be difficult to work with at the very beginning. You know what I'm saying? When you first meet them, you can know that you're not really going to click with them and you're not the DJ for them. And like I said, that's okay. You don't have to be the DJ for them. Not every client that you meet up with is going to book you, and not every client is your client. And I did meet a particular bride and groom. This is probably about, I'm going to say 10, 11 years ago. It was a long time ago. But I met with this bride and groom. They seemed really nice. We sat down and, started talking about their wedding. But the thing is, I could tell that I was not going to be able to really make this bride happy, because sometimes you could just tell there are just some people you just can't make happy regardless of what you do. You know what I'm saying? You probably know what I'm talking about that. And I could kind of tell that this particular bride was not going to be happy no matter what I tried or anything like that. As far as her reception goes. And the thing is, I remember she was wanting just a lot of things that were not going to be really beneficial to her reception. For example, I remember she was telling me that, right off the bat, she said, I want a custom playlist that I'm going to pick out every single song from the very beginning of the reception all the way to the end, and I want you to play these songs in order, and then I'm also going to give you a complete script to read, and you're not to say anything else on the microphone except what I put down on that paper. And she was going to, type it up word for word. And I'm like, okay, well, I just really didn't think that was going to work out, because as mobile DJs, our job is to read the crowd, and, we got to have that little bit of flexibility there to be able to know what was going to be happening and that kind of thing. And she said she did not want her guests to take any requests or anything like that. So to me, that kind of spelled that, that wedding reception probably wasn't going to go the way that she wanted if she wanted to do all that. So, I just quietly declined that wedding. Like I said, they were a very nice couple and I enjoyed meeting with them, but in the end, I told them that I just didn't really feel like that I was the DJ for them. And I did give some recommendations for other DJs that they may be happier with or something like that. And they actually did hire another DJ. And so fast forward now, a few months later after her wedding, I decided to go to her Facebook page, and I decided to see, what all her comments were and look at her wedding pictures and that kind of thing. And I actually did, and she was talking about what a horrible job the DJ did. She said nobody danced, nobody had a good time, so the reception ended early, and she just wasn't happy with the way things went. Now, this particular DJ is a professional in this area. He's got a lot of great reviews, and I knew him personally, and I knew that that he was good for what he did. I mean, he made brides happy all the time. So my guess is probably what ended up happening is that he probably did what she wanted to do. Probably made that custom playlist and played everything that she wanted, and probably people didn't dance. And when he couldn't take requests, they probably left early. You know, that's my guess. I don't know. I never talked to him about it, but I'm just assuming that's probably what happened. But, you know, the thing is, I noticed that she'd gone on Wedding Wire and had written him a really bad review and really bashed him and that kind of thing. And, you know, when I started thinking about that, I thought, man, I am so glad that I didn't take that wedding, because I probably would not have been able to make her happy either. She could have been writing me bad reviews or something. You know, we just don't know when it comes to things like that. So, you know, that was a situation that I'm glad that I did turn the event down, but I felt bad for that other DJ, because I think that he probably just was doing what she wanted, and, you know, she wasn't happy with that. And I don't know if he told her, you know, that that probably wouldn't work or whatever the situation may be. But as far as like working with just a real nightmarish bride, you know, that I just couldn't stand or anything like that, no, I can say in 16 years I've never had an issue like that. Like I said, I've had a few that are a little more, you know, structured than others, but I've never had a bride that I've worked with that I've never liked. So, you know, I care about every single bride that I've ever worked with, and I've had really good experiences over my 16 years, and I'm blessed with that, and that's why I'm still doing this, and why I still plan on doing it probably at least for another 16 years. So, yeah, I never really have had that situation. But now let's talk about what happens if you do have a structured bride that wants to do something that you know that probably will not work for her reception. Okay, now let's just say, for example, she's already hired you, and she tells you, you know, like maybe in the final planning stages, or you know, at some point during the planning stages, that she wants a custom playlist where she wants to pick out every single song, and she doesn't want you to take any requests. So what are you gonna do about that? Well, here's the thing you got to do. Okay, first of all, you need to, you know, just talk to her. But you don't want to, let your ego get the best of you or anything like that. You know, you don't want to come to her with an attitude saying, hey, you know what, you're wrong. This is not going to work, or something like that. You never want to do that. But what you do want to do is you want to calmly talk to her and just say, look, you know, you've hired me to do a job, and you know, part of my job is to make recommendations. And if I see something that's not going to work, you know, to go ahead and tell you about that. And right now, I see that this is not going to work, and then explain to her why it wouldn't work. Explain to her that, you know, she's going to have guests that are going to want to make requests, and that you know, if she has this custom playlist where the guests can't make requests, that chances are they're probably going to leave early. You know, that's usually what'll end up happening. So you know, she needs to be a little bit more flexible, and just tell her to. You know, that you know, it would be your recommendation to allow the DJ, you, to be able to, you know, read the crowd and really have a good party going, because the way that she has that set up with that custom playlist like that, just explain to her that, you know, she's probably not going to be happy with the results. And like I said, you know, just be, you know, real calm about that. Let her know that you have her best interest at heart, and that the only thing you want to do is to make sure that you know, that her wedding reception goes off real smoothly, and you give her the best day of her life. That's what our main goal is. And as I tell all my brides, I tell every single one of them this, I want to make sure that they walk away from their reception saying, you know what, that was the best reception I have ever been to. That's my goal. That's what I want. I want them to have the night of their life, and I want everybody out there having a good time and dancing and all that good stuff. And, you know, and we want to tell them that, you know, the ultimate goal is to make sure that everybody has fun, all their guests and everybody, you know, and if we want to make sure that, you know, we do things that'll make sure that accomplishes that goal, and maybe, you know, what they're suggesting might not be a good idea. And I have had brides, you know, actually do that before. You know, they've tried to be a little bit too structured, in my opinion, and I would just explain it to them. And usually when I do, they see things my way. They'll say, oh, okay, you know what, you make a lot of sense. Okay, I don't want to do that then. You're the expert. And if you're saying that this isn't going to work, then that's cool. You know, I just want to have a good time. I want my guests to have a good time. And I would say probably 99% of the time, brides, you know, we usually go along with that. You know, if you just explain to them, just tell them, you know, you have their best interest at heart, and explain to them why that what they're wanting to do probably isn't going to work, and why you don't think it'll work. But in the end, also, you got to think of it this way too. It is their reception, and you know, if they still want to do it, then, you know, you'll have to go ahead and do it. But at least, you know, you've warned them ahead of time in case they aren't happy with the results. You know, you can, you know, say, yeah, well, I did tell you, you know what, you know, this probably wasn't going to work. You know, so that's just a little thing there. But like I said, most of the time, whenever I've had a real structured bride like that wanted to do something that I felt was going to be not in the best interest of their reception, I would just calmly talk to them, and I'd say most of the time that they would, you know, go along with what I said. They'd say, okay, yeah, I agree with what you say, and that makes a lot of sense, so let's just scrap that whole idea. And then I've had some that would do, you know, that would ask me to do something like that, and then I would say, okay, you know, I'd explain it to them and everything, and they'd say, nah, let's go ahead and still do it. But then when we got to the reception on the wedding night, they would realize that it really wasn't a good idea, and then they would usually just come up to me and just say, hey, wait a minute, just scrap that whole custom playlist thing. Go ahead and start taking requests. I've had that happen before too, and you know, in both situations, we've always had the bride and groom happy with the end result. and that's always something that we want to do, so the thing is, that's just, you got to make sure that in the end we do what our brides want. But at the same time, if you see something that you don't feel is going to be in their best interest, or they're not going to be happy with it, just tell them and just be honest with them. But don't let your ego get the best of you on that. Just make sure you're honest with them, and just tell them that you have their best interest at heart. And usually a lot of structured brides will then, get a little more laxed, I guess you could say, on that particular situation. But just let them know that you're there to help them, and you want to make sure that they have the best day of their life, and that's what you're there for. And any suggestions that you make, positive or negative like that, on things they want to do, that's all you're doing. You're just making sure that they have the best day of their life. And like I said, a lot of times they will look at you and say, hey, you know what, I agree with you, and you make a lot of sense. So there you go. Just be honest with them. That's the best thing. And remember, we want to make sure that we are professional at all times. All times, make sure we're professionals, whether it's with our brides and grooms, whether it's with other clients, or whether it's other wedding professionals. We want to make sure that we maintain a great level of professionalism, because really that will go a long way. That's why I've stayed in business for 16 years. I've really established a great reputation in my area. I've got a lot of wedding referrals, and that works out. That works out well. Word gets around if you're a good person, and you do your job well, and you really work with these brides and make sure that they know what's going to happen and all that kind of stuff. And that's our job. And we want to make sure that they walk away, saying that was the best reception I've ever been to. So there you go. That's just some advice for you on how to handle that. Like I said, I don't like the term bridezillas, but if you do happen to have a bride that is a little bit more structured than others, just take a look at the situation, look at what she's wanting to do, and if you feel like that it's something that it's not going to work out for her, just be honest with her, explain why that is, and again, just reiterate that you're just doing what you feel is best, and that you're doing what you feel is going to be the best outcome for them to have the best day of their life. But always make sure that you let them know that you're on their side, and that and everything that you do and every suggestion you make is for their benefit. Okay, so anyway, that's where we're going to leave this. If you have any questions, just feel free to drop me an email. My email address is right there on the screen, and we'll chat about it. So until next time, practice and enjoy.